Let's move to our first conversation where the International Monetary Fund has commenced the sixth review of its 36-month, $3 billion extended credit facility program with Ghana. The country's finance minister, Kasio Ato-Forson, says the next phase will prioritize policies that unlock private sector growth with a strong emphasis on policy credibility, reform, discipline, and investor confidence. Richmond Frimpong, Advisory Board Chair at FLF Africa, joins me for this discussion. Thank you so much for your time, Richmond. I mean, we're seeing the climax or the end of the three-year program, where we had this conversation some 3 years ago, looking at the fact that Ghana reached the agreement with the IMF. Let's look at how the progress has been so far within the period of this program.
Right, thank you. I think we've come very far as an economy. And if you look at the goals of the program, I mean, literally to bring about stability, recovery, and then prepare the economy for growth with its impact on jobs, among other things. I mean, largely, you can see that that has been achieved. And given that this is the final and sixth review, if everything goes as planned, should be signaling an end of the program sometime by August. My advice, though, is that the real transition from the stability, the credibility, and the reforms must show in jobs and must show in the economic transformation of the structural corrections we have envisaged. And that will be the test of this very final review to see how the government is able to see that transition through.
Richmond, in your response, you made a note. You said, if. I want to understand your context in that sense. Are you looking at the fact that some of the gains will be reversed in terms of what's playing out in terms of the Gulf tensions, its impact to the level of growth and stability that Ghana has witnessed in the last 36 months?
I mean, there are so many things that can make it slightly unable, as in the government, unable to take the next move. And one of them is the beaming crisis in the Middle East and its implication on the energy sector. Even lately, without much we do about that and its impact, you can tell Ghana has been figuring out the challenges that it comes with. And the government had to call an emergency cabinet to really look at the pricing because it could have an implication on a pass-through effect of fuel prices. And that was not long ago to just stabilize the effects of that critical outlier. But beyond that, the energy sector still needs attention. And the debts that are overhanging and the transformation that needs to happen from the distribution, actually even before distribution, generation of power, distribution before it gets into the final bit of it. And you can tell that for each of those angles, there are bottlenecks in there from generation, transmission, and distribution. And until the government is able to do that, the implications will still exist. Ultimately, also, fiscal discipline is a critical anchor. And this government in power has a 4-year mandate, particularly the president. And there will be a test of sticking to that fiscal discipline and at the same time looking forward to winning a second term for the party. So that is why the if comment is in there. And if left for me, I would advise that the government should not be in a hurry to exit the program, but should plan towards an extension and translate the gains into private sector-led growth so that jobs can flow through and get the economy going.
One of the things that the finance minister has said is that they're looking to come up with policies that will unlock that private sector growth. But let's look at how it's been within the last 3 years. Sometime in March 2023, Ghana ended fuel subsidy, and they were seeing this month's the introduction of a 1 month, a temporary subsidy introduction because, I mean, pass-through effect of the Gulf tensions. And then also, you're seeing the likes of inflation numbers printing higher at 40-something% as of March 2023 to single-digit inflations. Now, there's been some level of gains now. And then when you're saying that you're hoping or you believe the government can extend this program just to achieve that more gains, do you think that Ghana as it is, the government is still standing on one leg?
So there are two things. There is the macro level where after you have stabilized the economy and recovered from the difficulties, you must transition into critical growth that shows up in jobs, that shows up in real structural transformation. The first part has been achieved, and you can see that in the macroeconomic indicators. Fantastic. But how many jobs are we creating? How are we getting the stability of the macros without the effect on the central banks or the monetary policy anchors? You just notice the publication of the central bank's financials, and you can tell the effort the bank had to put in, and that shows up in some of the losses it is making. But we need to go beyond that, and to do that, it will not just be to say, it will be to do with critical real policies.
Well, one other thing we have to look at again is that the fact that part of the things the Monetary Policy Committee will be looking at is the outcome of these meetings, and then also we're seeing inflation print numbers. What are your expectations in this month's meeting?
Likely, we are looking forward to a stay of the policy rates following the meeting on the government on the Monetary Policy Committee side. Largely, a stay would help.
But in terms of inflation numbers, do you think that continued slowdown would persist in the next couple of months?
Yes, if you look at the pass-throughs, I think the government has been swift, and in terms of the challenges that were emerging on the fuel side, I mean, that has the biggest outlier and transmission effect on inflation. Aside that is the fiscal discipline. And so far, I think the government has done very well with its fiscal space and how it's managed it. So inflation is likely to still trend, howbeit at a slower pace southward.
All right. While we wrap this conversation, I can't help but ask you questions around the cedis. 2025, we saw a 40% appreciation, but over the past couple of weeks, we've seen that decline. What do you think the cedi would print out, looking at what first half of the year would do, and then probably the full year?
I think that the trend is a bit consistent, and so far the stability is more predictable than the downward trend in terms of the depreciation of the currency. And at the moment, if it can stay at this pace, particularly with the influence of the reserve backings we have chalked, and now the critical role that the gold board is playing. I mean, just a few days ago, you heard that one of the mines that had been acquired by a Ghanaian company has sold entirely all its gold to the gold board for the for the Bank of Ghana's reservation. That creates a lot of stability to keep up the pace with the currency.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Richmond Frimpong. Let's hope that the outcome of the meeting remains positive, and then the feedback would also be engaging on that. Thank you for your time. That was Richmond Frimpong, Advisory Board Chair at FLF Africa.